Are you ready? Are you ready for the news time? Yes, my name is Phil Chambers and I am here with Gareth Morgan for the Saturday news. But before we get started, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel and comment down below what you think of all of today's stories and click the timestamps in the description to skip along to each of today's stories. But the first story of the day is a big, I guess, return, although it's been teased for quite a while on SmackDown. There was obviously the Bayley versus Sasha match for the women's title, which was a bloody brilliant match. Go watch it. Those two are just absolute best. But anyway, Sasha Banks won it. And then at the end, she wandered off up the rampway and she was celebrating with a title in the air on the Titantron when all of a sudden, from out of nowhere, comes Carmella. She hits her with a big super kick and then hits the X Factor on the ramp and stands above it. And it looks like the new challenger for Sasha Banks' SmackDown Women's Championship is the untouchable Carmella. So we haven't seen Carmella since May now, back in the Money in the Bank match. And then her last match actually on SmackDown was back in April 25th, I think it was, against Mandy Rose, where she beat her for a qualifier match to get into that Money in the Bank match. So it's been a long time. They've obviously revamped the character a lot with these new vignettes that they've been teasing. New gear, new look, and a new start for Carmella. What do you think?
Yeah, I was a little bit worried about like the various segments and promo things that were happening because it just seemed very typical WWE diva and like in that kind of ballpark, which if anyone's going to be able to take that and perhaps make it into something that isn't a bit uncomfortable to watch, Carmella probably is that person. But now seeing the way she's burst back onto the scene here in this little like feud right now, and if she's straight into that women's title picture, she looks credible, to be honest. Like, she's a former champion. Like, she just looked really badass in the way that she attacked Banks. It wasn't just one of those, like, dastardly attacks where it's just like a low blow out of nowhere or like a steel chair or something. She full-on just smacked her in the face with a super kick and then did a... Is that always been a finisher? Like, the head split drop thing?
I think so. I don't know what she calls it. I know X-Pac called it the X-Factor, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, like, that looked really impactful. I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, so... Yeah. I'm here for it. I'm really here for it because it's a new feud. Obviously, it's really sad. It is really sad. We need to take a moment just to bow our heads because it does seem like we are going to lose the Bayley Banks feud for a while. So we're going to lose the absolute magic that we've had for so many months. It's been a joyous time. In the darkest of periods, really it's been a joyous time. So that's sad that seems to be coming to an end, but... yeah, cool. I'm all here for this. And speaking of new directions, new thing going down on SmackDown, it seems that another major new rivalry seems to be in motion, let's say. It seems to be coming very soon. And it involves everyone's favourite babyface in the world, Daniel Bryan. And he is now being kind of put into the mix with the top dog, the tribal chief on SmackDown, obviously the Universal Champion Roman Reigns. And that this all comes off the back of Jey Uso obviously absolutely obliterating him last week in that big brawl / show of worth thing that he did after his match with Bryan, the Survivor Series qualifier. And now it's said that he's... this is all according to the Wrestling Observer Radio. They said that once he's cleared for action, obviously WWE said that he was injured and battered and bruised, which he looked pretty battered after that. It's pretty convincing. So once he's over that, he will pop back into the scene. And to be honest, it makes a ton of sense because Daniel Bryan, in my opinion, is the most natural, organic babyface that WWE has right now. And putting him up against Roman Reigns, letting Reigns absolutely massacre him, yeah, it gives him a lot of credibility and it breaks everyone's hearts, which is what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. He is the perfect foil for Roman Reigns at the minute. Obviously, it's going to have to wait until after Survivor Series because they've got to get the Raw vs. SmackDown stuff out of the way. But this is a good way of writing off Bryan and then giving him a reason to come back against Roman Reigns and whatever the new revamped bloodline is by then as well, because he's bullying Jey Uso into his ways, let's say that much. But speaking of factions, I guess, in WWE, Fightful Select are reporting, we're doing the segues today, we're doing it, baby.
Love it. That was pretty, I was like, yeah, we got this today, we're on this.
Fightful Select are reporting the real reasons, some may say, that Retaliation, member of Retribution, isn't in it anymore. Basically, Mercedes Martinez, she went and she spoke to WWE management and she expressed her desire to no longer be in Retribution. And so they pulled her from the group just before they signed their new Raw contracts. Bold move from Mercedes Martinez. Obviously, she saw the writing on the wall for what that group is and the levels that they can probably get to in that, and thought better of herself, which is good for her. But WWE don't have the greatest track record of people going against opportunities like this, or in their mind, it's an opportunity. So yeah, bold move from Mercedes Martinez. No plans as of yet to replace her in the group. There was a bunch of NXT names batted about apparently, but they've settled on not actually replacing her for now. And no word on future plans for Mercedes Martinez as of yet. But I really hope that the best things come from this, because she is really good. And yeah, Retribution isn't the best group in the world, is it?
Yeah, you're not going to have loads of people lining up down in NXT to go, oh, I'll take a place. I'll come in. Yeah. I love masks. Yeah, let's put it on. No, I hope, like you said, I hope this paves the way for something better for Martinez. Obviously, again, like you said, WWE haven't got the best track record of rewarding people who turn down their opportunities. But in my opinion, if Rhea Ripley is supposedly on the edge of coming up to the main roster, there's been a lot of talk of it over the last couple of months, I wouldn't mind her coming up, Martinez going back, maybe taking up that place as the absolute badass of NXT. And yeah, I think it's a shame, because I feel like just before she came into the whole Retribution scenario, she was arguably, she had the most momentum she'd had in WWE off the back of those matches with Ripley and that whole Robert Stone brand thing. She was looking like a pretty decent start. Everyone was quite excited about her being on the main roster, and now, yeah, it's been fumbled, and Retribution. So yeah, I'm not going to talk too much about them. But they are on Raw. They are on Raw. So segue, another segue. Yeah. Let's talk about this week's Raw. Yeah, and we've got a match been announced. It's another triple threat. There's a lot of triple threats going down now with Survivor Series season upon us. And there's also a Moment of Bliss segment, which has been announced as well. So first, I'm going to talk about the triple threat. The triple threat's it's sort of a last chance, or second chance as it's being branded, triple threat for the Survivor Series men's team. So get my spot on that team. So it is Jeff Hardy taking on Matt Riddle, taking on Elias. So you might be frustrated if you've seen a bit of Jeff Hardy Elias. We've seen a lot of that recently. They're, again, in a combination together, but you've popped Matt Riddle in the middle of that. So it could be quite fun and just, three pretty, interesting dudes all there battering each other for a chance to be on the Survivor Series men's team. But this does look like they are staying clear of putting Drew McIntyre on that team as well, which is a little bit upsetting, because that would have been really cool. But then, speaking of McIntyre, he is going to be the special guest on a Moment of Bliss with Alexa Bliss. And WWE also noted, weirdly, in their official preview that The Fiend, obviously Bray Wyatt, will use the segment to deliver his own message to McIntyre on behalf of Bliss. So I don't know if that's going to be a weird possession thing going on there, but I'm not sure. It's going to be entertaining, because anything that Alexa Bliss has done on Raw recently, including spitting blood and just having contact lenses that are very weird and intense, has been really cool. So I'm very excited about this.
Yeah, totally. I've been very much into this Alexa Bliss Fiend storyline. She is going all in with it, which I think is very much what you need when you're in a storyline with The Fiend. If you don't throw your entire self into it, it's just not going to work. But speaking throwing your entire self into characters, The Undertaker. Obviously, WWE have been hyping up the big farewell of The Undertaker, the 30 years of his historic career, building up to Survivor Series with all the network specials and things like that. Well, they are hyping Survivor Series as the final farewell for The Undertaker, wrapping up his legendary 30-year career. So they are going to be doing something with The Undertaker at Survivor Series. What exactly that is, not entirely sure yet, but we'll have to wait and see. But as part of this as well, obviously they've been doing all the network things. They're also going to be doing a Broken Skull Sessions with Stone Cold podcast directly after Survivor Series with The Undertaker as a retrospective of his 30-year career, which will definitely be very interesting. Just Undertaker and Stone Cold shooting their stuff about his career. It's just going to be really good, isn't it? But I also wanted to bring this up in the press release that WWE released about the final farewell. They also had a thing about the other things that they've been doing to help hype up his career and celebrate 30 years of the dead man. So they're doing Undertaker photos, videos and features on the WWE website, an Undertaker challenge on TikTok, Instagram and Snapchat filters, Exclusive Funko Pop items on Amazon. Feature space in the 2,300 Walmart stores for an exclusive Mattel action figure, national media appearances, and more. But just The Undertaker, 30 years of the dead man, TikTok challenges and Instagram filters.
Yeah. What are those TikTok challenges going to look like? Is it just people slowly walking into frame?
I don't know. It just really does not fit, does it? Those two things should never be in the same sentence ever.
No, it's the absolute. Well, it's just the downside of modern WWE. Really, you've got wow, really historic, legendary figure, but you know,
TikTok,
Snapchat. It's like, oh, you know what? It's gonna be sad, obviously, because it's his farewell appearance, which is We don't know. It could be his farewell. They could just keep it another year.
Is it really?
We don't know. It could be his farewell to Survivor Series, and if that's the case, he's a guy who's been synonymous with Survivor Series, so it is quite a sad moment. But I'm just there for all the Stone Cold stuff after it, because they've been some of my favourite things. Oh yeah, every time we get a Broken Skull session, like the Kurt Angle one was really good, the other Undertaker one was really good. So they're always worth checking out. And speaking of the Undertaker, AEW Full Gear.
You've ruined it. We had such a good streak.
How could I sync those together? It was.
Speaking of ruining streaks.
Oh, okay. Someone's a professional, right? Yeah. Well, I'm not. So let's talk about Full Gear, which is tonight. I can't believe how much wrestling is happening right now. I love it. It's just incredible. Tony Khan has seemingly confirmed, that Jon Moxley versus Eddie Kingston in the I Quit match for the AEW World Championship at Full Gear is going to be the main event. That's going to be the big one. So he said this during a Wrestling Observer Radio interview, and he noted that the world title has generally gone on last in AEW, with Double or Nothing Stadium Stampede being probably the only exception to the rule. He went on and said it would be hard to go back into the arena after we'd done Stadium Stampede. It was just epic. And Moxley and Brody Lee was one of our biggest title matches, but even John didn't want to go on after the Stadium Stampede. He was pretty adamant that he didn't want to go on last. And then when talking about why the world title should headline just in general, he said there are exceptions like the Stadium Stampede, or maybe in Toronto with Hogan and The Rock, where it doesn't necessarily make sense, but in this case, I do think Eddie and John going on last makes a lot of sense. So yeah, a lot to unpack there. It feels like maybe the Young Bucks and FDR, their big grudge match, was being positioned as a worthy main event to a lot of people. It would be really cool to see that title put at that really top spot and give that kind of prestige. But Khan does make a point that it's the World Championship, and for the most part, you really want your world title going on last because it should be seen as the absolute top belt in the company. So yeah, and I also like the fact that he was saying you just couldn't follow the Stadium Stampede, because you can't. You could not follow that. Imagine any match going on after that, it just would have dropped off. So yeah,
just wouldn't have worked. But yeah, fair, putting your title, the importance of your title and keeping that as the top thing on your brand is great for the belt. The card itself is stacked. It's going to be an absolute hell of a show. But yeah, I just feel sorry for whoever has to follow the Young Bucks versus FTR, really. That's going to be a really tough spot.
Yeah, it's like no matter what, when you look at that card, it's going to be a big match that's going to have to follow that. It's like there's no filler. I've not seen a pay-per-view like this in such a long time that's not had any real... You could probably make an argument and maybe say like matches like the Sammy Guevara, Matt Hardy one isn't as like prestigious and as like sought after as what the other ones are. But even that is like going to be a cinematic...
They've got a lot to make up for the sort of... Yeah, they've got a lot to make up for the sort of mistakes, I guess, that they've made in the past, or the accidents that have happened. So I think like they've probably put enough pressure on that match themselves to make it brilliant. So it's just going to be a hell of a card.
Can't wait.
But finally, let's get on to some Twitter questions. Ooh. Why the hell not? The first one comes from JobberC137 on Twitter, who says, "Morning, gents. Am I the only one who thinks Mike Tyson is showing up Saturday at Full Gear to help MJF defeat Jericho? By the way, Chief says hello," and then there's a picture of Chief, his dog.
Cute. Yeah, cool. That's you've earned your place on this video. So. I'd normally say there's a chance, but he is in training and probably in the latter stages of training for the biggest fight he's had in quite some time, because he's not fought in quite some time. So I think it'd be a bit odd for him to show up. It's very similar to the Jake Hager thing when it was very close to his fight. He just didn't really do anything physical and just kept himself in peak condition because he's fighting. He's fighting another human being. So he can't be messing around and potentially risking hurting his hand on Jericho's face. Nah.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. I think maybe if like full crowds were back, it might be a different story. But as of that things are now, I'm not seeing it yet. Maybe, but nah, the card's stacked enough without it. The next question comes from Mark Salad, who says, "Morning guys, happy Saturday. When Miro eventually turns face, who would you like to see him feud with? I'll take face Miro versus heel Cody." And then there's pictures of his dogs.
Yeah, again,
there may be a theme running through these.
There is. There's a key to Phil and I's hearts, and it is a dog.
Dog pictures.
That's what it is.
Yeah, face Miro. Who do you want to see him against?
I'd love to see that Cody match, but I like just battles of the beef, and I'd really like to see him go up against Brian Cage and that Taz, whole big Taz faction, because you could have him absolutely pulverizing Ricky Starks, and then Brian Cage just popping up and just being like, right, you want to go? You want to go? Me and you, and it just be so good. What about you?
Sammy Guevara, just because big boy Rusev in full face mode going up against little cocky heel Sammy Guevara. The promos would be brilliant. The match would be insane. The bumps Guevara would take for him would be insane. It'd just be really good fun.
There's so much right now on that. There's so many people on the AEW roster. Are they even on the full gear card? Is Miro and Kip Sabian on that card?
No, I don't think so.
Frightening.
Madness.
What a roster they've got right now.
So yeah, that was today's news. If you want to continue talking to us about whatever, stories, wrestling, who cares, follow us on Twitter. You can follow me at Fill My Chambers. If you want to send us questions for next week's Saturday news as well, at Fill My Chambers on Twitter, and you can follow Gareth
at GMorgan04.
And if you just want to send us pictures of your dogs, that is fine too. And you can follow all of us at WhatCulture WWE. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below what you think of all of today's stories. But most importantly, have yourselves a bloody good day and enjoy Full Gear.
Bye-bye.